Hey everybody, it's Dan with Trapping the Ozarks, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the setup I use for skinning predators. Got a new skinning machine. Want to talk a little bit about where we got it, why we went with what we got, and how we like it so far, and some modifications that we've made to it to kind of make it a little bit better. So that's the plan. Let's talk skinning machines. Okay, so this is the little corner of my shop where basically my little fur shed is set up at. And I've got these cabinets over here and a little workspace. And then I've got my skinning machine right here. And then some more cabinets. And then over here I've got my fleshing beam. And my workspace over here, some storage here, storage up here on the top. And then I have another little workspace with some more shelving over here. And then over here I've got stretchers and fur and everything else kind of hanging up over here. So that's kind of what I got going here in the shop. But really what I wanted to talk about was my skinning machine. And I looked around. Actually what I tried to do is I looked online, found some like ideas of other skinning machines and things like that that I kind of liked. And I thought I'll just get someone to build me one locally. One of my neighbors is a welder, has a welding business, but honestly, he's so busy. I mean, it was basically going to be impossible to get him to do it. And I don't have the skills to be able to weld the whole thing together myself. So I ended up kind of looking around, and ended up finding a guy in Iowa that sells these, and he sells them under the name of ADC. A. Adam, D. David, C. Charles, ADC skinning machines. And he doesn't really have like a website or anything like that, but he does have like a YouTube video. You can go and you can see his skinning machines, and he's talked about in several trapper forums and stuff. So I found a number for the guy, and his name is Jamie, and he's a super nice guy. And I think he lives in Sharon, Iowa, if that's right. Anyway, I called him, we chatted on the phone some, and then I decided, we kind of worked out a deal on a skinning machine. He's got several different ones that he can build for you. He seemed to be pretty reasonably priced for me, and so I ended up, basically getting one from him. And then, he'll ship them to you, or you can just go meet him. He was going to be at the Iowa Trappers Convention in Winterset, Iowa, which is actually closer to me in Missouri to where I was. So I made the drive up to Winterset, went to the Iowa Trappers Convention, and met Jamie and bought this skinning machine. And he's a super nice guy, gave me a good deal. Actually, when I bought it from him at the convention, like a lot of things at the conventions, he gave me a better price on it. So it was a good deal. So let's talk a little bit about the skinning machine. Okay, so here's the base of the skinning machine. It is, you can't see the very bottom of the base, and I'll explain to you why, but it's basically just basically a square frame that he welded together. And then it comes in like three pieces basically. It comes in the frame and this part right here. And then it comes in the next part. It goes up there that connects to the hoist, or the winch I should say. And then it comes in this little part right here with the vice grips that you actually hook. So it comes in three pieces, takes like 4 or 5 minutes to put it together once you get it. It's super easy. But it's basically got this frame, and then it's got these two vice grips that are basically welded onto pieces of the frame, and they have little pieces of rebar, which are basically what's clamping to your fur with the vice grips, right? And then it has the main part back here of the frame, the vertical part, and then you can adjust the height right here with just a little pin, basically. And then it goes on up, and then you got a winch that's attached, and then the winch comes down right to here, and then you can get it with or without this particular device here on the bottom. Okay, I'm having kind of a brain issue right now and I can't even think of what that's called, but basically the gambrel, sorry. This part of the gambrel, and I've never used a gambrel kind of like this in the past, and I didn't really know how it was going to work. It's super heavy duty, and honestly it works really, really well. You throw a coyote in there and it's basically in there. I wish that the gambrel was a little bit wider, or I could spread the coyote legs a little bit farther apart, but that's no big deal. A lot of gambrels are like that anyway. So what I usually do is I'll just make the opening cuts around the legs and down toward the vent before I even throw it up on here. And then I go ahead and throw it up on here. And I kind of did that with other gambrels in the past anyway. I think it's easier just to make those cuts. If you throw it on a table or something, make those cuts and then throw it up on the gambrel. So it doesn't really affect me at all. Once it's up here, it's up there and it stays up there because it attaches right by basically that ankle bone. So even if the tendon is cut, if you happen to screw up and cut the tendon or something, it still hangs up there really, really well. So I really like the gambrel part of it. The winch itself works really, really well. I mean, this is not anything, you know, that's out of the ordinary. It's just like the regular kind of winch. You can probably buy that at Harbor Freight or somewhere for $100, but works really, really well. I've got a little, basically a little hook back here, so I can hook my my mechanism to, my controls to, and then I can just basically have control over raising and lowering of the winch. And this just keeps it out of the way for me so that it's not hanging out here, you know, getting involved and hanging onto the animal and messing with the animal. So I just hook it right up there and I have it, and I'm good to go. As far as any adjustments that I've made to this, I haven't really made any. I did do this little piece right here because I found that, not with like smaller animals, but with coyotes, when you start pulling down across the top of the shoulders and over the back part of the head and through those front legs, there's obviously quite a bit of torque that is put on. And I found that even though the base is really pretty solid for as tall as, I got it at 10 feet right now, and even though it's really solid for that, it did kind of want to sway a little bit. So I just went ahead and basically mounted it into the wall with just a little piece of 2x4 and then a small little 1/2-inch piece to tighten it up there, and then an 1.5-inch little like plumbing strap. Put some screws in all that, and it's super solid now. It doesn't move anywhere, it doesn't pull anywhere, it's super solid. So I did that, and then on the bottom all I did was on the back, you'll notice on the back of my wall I put up this little piece of I don't know, like hardboard or whatever you want to call it. It's white, and it's the stuff that you can just kind of wipe off real easy. So I did that basically, as you can see, because you're going to get blood and you're going to get stuff spattered on there, and I didn't want that going all over my wall with OSB, and I just put it in screws, so that way if it gets too nasty, I clean it up, but maybe, you know, eventually it gets so too nasty, I can just pop it off and screw another piece on. I did the same on the back of my fleshing beam, just so I can, again, keep the walls clean. And then the other thing that I did at the bottom was I added plastic on the inside and around the frame, and then and that is really, again, because the animal's gonna bleed, stuff's gonna bleed down into there. I didn't want that just getting all over my concrete floor. And then if you just put plastic in there, it kind of all hits in there, and then it creates little small blood spatters and all kinds of impact stains and things like that onto the back of the wall and on the sides of my cabinets, and I didn't want that. So what I did is, this is just because I had it, you can see how it's going in there. This is just cedar mulch that I had for landscaping around my house. The cedar smells good. I mean, it absorbs stuff really well, and the blood doesn't spatter when it hits it. It just basically soaks into it. I mean, if you had like kitty litter or something, you could stick that in there. Anything you want, you could stick that in there just to keep it a little bit neater, basically, and a little bit nicer from just spattering on blood spatters, getting all over the place. So that's really the only reason I did that. It's not necessary at all. I'm kind of a clean kind of person, you know, so I wanted that kind of something that's easy for me to clean. I can just basically dump that out if I need to at the end of the season or whenever, how long it needs for it to get, you know, needs to be cleaned up in there. But the cedar smells really good in here. It absorbs all that and lets me alleviate most of the blood spatter anyway as the blood drips down in there. So that's basically the skinning machine. I've had no issues with it. The performance has been really well. The winch has worked well. The gambrels worked well. The whole thing has worked well. I mean, I really like it. I have had one issue was I didn't hook enough fur up into one of the vice grips, and it got a little tear in the fur just from the pressure of pulling. You needed to get it a little bit high. I needed to get a little bit higher up into the fur and not just like toward the very, very end of like the leg, which is kind of where I was pulling from. And sometimes with those coyotes, it pulls quite a bit. So that was the only issue that I had with it. But overall, I totally like it. I paid $385 for this, which I know is kind of expensive to be quite honest, but I couldn't find anywhere else that was cheaper. I couldn't find anybody to make me one. And the people that I did find that were somewhat interested in making one didn't really know what they were doing, didn't know anything about trapping, and they wanted more than $385. So that's why I ended up going with Jamie up in Iowa at ADC. So if you're looking for a skinning machine, don't have the skills to weld it together yourself, then I would definitely give them a call because I'm pretty happy with this one. So hope that helps. I'll do another video sometime soon on the rest of the shop, like the fleshing beam and some of the other stuff a little bit later. So have a good night. Hopefully you guys are dry. Hopefully it's not totally muddy where you are. I'm going to be going out early in the morning and basically trying to fix all my sets. That'll be a muddy, flooded mess, but that's just part of trapping. So have a good night. Be careful. Good luck.